we did want to talk about the flip, right? So we got Roderick Kearney, interior offensive lineman, top 10 in the country, roughly a top 150 player out of Lakeland, I believe.
No, he's from Jacksonville. He's from
I don't know. I was talking about somebody else. I think
he's not from Jacksonville.
Excuse me.
Orange Park, Florida.
Orange Park. I apologize.
That is a surrounding county.
Is that Clay County?
Yeah, that's Clay County.
Okay, that's Clay County. I apologize. He's not from Duval, where James is right now. It's not. It's a more of an interesting commit because he is the one who committed to Florida State shortly after taking a visit to the University of Florida. It's also not a shocking decommit. There have been rumors probably for about the last month that he was going to decommit. Does it suck that he's going to the University of Florida, or is now orally committed to the University of Florida? Yes, it does suck in that regard. That being said, it is not a shocker. Florida State is stocked up at the offensive line position. So, I mean, to him, I would say best of luck. You obviously want to enjoy losing to Georgia more often, so go ahead. I mean, if he wants to go spend the rest of his time in Gainesville, that's his decision to make that horrible mistake. But James, what do you think about this flip?
I think he's a good athlete. I think he's a good prospect. I think when you look at what Alex Atkins has been able to do with the offensive line in the last class, he brought in 10 guys. He has Lucas Simmons, where we really need to address the tackle position. And I also know that Florida State has had options. Once he started wavering about 6 weeks ago, it's fair to say, Alex Atkins and them, he threatened to kind of go on an unofficial visit. They kind of said, you do it, and we'll pull the Scully. And it's kind of like if you're wavering, Alex Atkins is kind of you're in or you're not type of guy. And he spent enough time with the offensive line and at Florida State to kind of know what it is that he wants to do and what he doesn't want to do. And I've had the luxury of being able to watch film on him and another prospect here in the Jacksonville area called Jordan Hall. And God bless him. I wish you success. That's what I stated that way.
Does that mean you don't think this is much of a loss for Florida State? I feel like that's where you're going with that one, James.
I will say his junior year was a lot better than his senior year. And that does not mean that he won't be a good prospect, that he won't turn out to be something very, very good. But typically what you want to see is guys peaking as they go through college, not a guy who did very well one year and then they're resting on their laurels. You want to be able to see somebody be able to consistently get better. Now, it's not all his fault. He's on a really, really bad team in Orange Park. They haven't won very many games. It's your senior year. A lot of other things are going on. But that being said, we need winners at Florida State. We need guys that are going to come in, contribute, and be the positive force into the locker room, and not nothing that's going to detract. And whether you believe it or not, we've seen it in the 3-game spell where we've lost games at Florida State. Losing is contagious. Losers continue to lose. Like when bad things happen to people, we see people like, man, it seems like all the bad things, they can't catch a break. It just seems like they are attracting that bad energy. I don't want that in my locker room. Bring me some guys who are coming from playoff-bound teams that are winning, that want to be dominant. And then maybe 10 years down the road, we can go find guys like this and hope that we can affect them in the right way. But there's no bashing to the kid. I think the kid will probably he could be good. But the one thing I tell fans all the time is I just look back on the 2002 class that I came in. I want to say like 7 of us didn't show up. And most of them, you don't remember who they are. So every class, there's about 5 or 6 guys that you'll remember. And I think if you look at Florida's success recently, Dan Mullen's first class, I remember I got in trouble with Florida fans by saying about 10 players from that signing class won't make it. This kid will make it, but I think we won't remember a lot of these kids in the signing class in 5 years.
Along those lines, what you said, a quick question of follow-up. Do you think that this was a decision that was made weeks ago, or do you think that the losing streak, and obviously, once again, it was a losing streak to 3 ranked teams. Let's give them a little bit of a credit at this point. But do you think that this was a decision that was made because of that losing streak, or do you think this was something that had been in the works for a while?
I think this is a decision that this kid had been feeling for quite some time. And I think it just finally went on ahead and did what he needed to do and put Florida State in a situation where now they have another open scholarship. But I believe we were going to take Chester, and I'm trying to remember it's the offensive lineman from the boot. from out of Louisiana area, if I remember correctly. But I think those are two guys that I know Alex Atkins has not quit on. Plus, I know they plan on hitting the transfer portal again heavily for a couple other different players. So if it's not a freshman that's an instant impact guy, I'm really not crying about it. I think our class is going to finish. We're going to sign 20 high school kids. Our class is going to finish top 15, which would be the highest of the Mike Norvell era. And I think you're going to have the guys who come in as freshmen are going to be contributors like Keen Williams. And watch this weekend of who's coming in. And where you got guys like Desmond, which I talked about in fifth quarter, Desmond Ricks reclassifying and coming on a visit. And us in Georgia being the two major contributors. Also having Baxter coming in on an official visit to recruit. Just pay attention to some of these guys that we're getting into late. That's more of the vibe you need to get. Florida and Miami are having the benefit of having first-year coaches that are selling the future. We didn't do a great job of that, but right now, the best way you can handle recruiting, beat the hell out of Georgia Tech, beat the hell out of Miami, and Thanksgiving on Black Friday, make it extremely black for Florida fans.